Rainier Avenue Radio.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle-King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children. Youth services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
The beat of the Fox with nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice, UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That's not Illinois.
Hey.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
Do you feel uneasy on your feet? Need assistance to walk? Do you use a wheelchair and want to stand more? What if you could stand stronger, feel steadier on your feet? What would this mean for your daily life? Join our dance-based walking program to improve balance, coordination, strength, and stamina. Wednesdays in July and August at 2 p.m. at the iconic Columbia City Theater in partnership with Rainier Avenue Radio and Hugs and Power Nonprofit. Walkers, wheelchairs, and canes welcome. If you can stand and bear weight for even just 5 seconds, come dance to walk with Tango Stride.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not hearing men compare women to residential real estate, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Ow, things are black. Ow.
Every time you play so smooth.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Seniors Matter. I'm Brenda Charles Edwards, the host of Seniors Matter. We're live every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on www.rainieravenueradio.world, your community radio station. You can also listen to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV, Twitter, and of course, on the Rainier Avenue Radio app. We feature interviews with people that provide services or have valuable information for seniors, caregivers, and the community. You need financial documents notarized? You need documents read to you for clarity or completion? Call me, Brenda, at Black Orchid Notary, 206-683-2636. Tell me where, I'll meet you there. I'm so happy to say that my guest today is Dave Morrow. He's president of Plateau Security Advisors, LLC, which provides cybersecurity and threat consulting to large and small businesses. Welcome to the show, Dave. How are you?
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I'm great. I've been running this morning from one end of town to the other, so I didn't get to make it to the studio. I just made it home, so I'm just grateful.
You just sit down and take a rest then.
Yes, because you're going to handle it all.
Yep, that's me.
Oh, gosh, Dave, what have you been up to since the last time I saw you?
Well, I'm basically working at home, but I've been very busy on with AARP doing their Fraud Watch network, and haven't done a whole lot of consulting. My company's I'm going to try to retire yet again.
Oh no, really?
So yeah, this will be my third time. So let's see if it works.
Okay.
I always get kind of bored, but now I got the AARP stuff to keep me busy. So maybe
that
I'll
definitely
do it.
will keep you busy.
Yeah,
for sure. So Dave, I met you through AARP, and we've seen a lot of demonstrations on scams, and unfortunately, I had to experience one this past weekend. It's a tech support scam.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You know the drill. It's
yeah.
the computer. You go to log in your computer, and then it says that you need to contact Microsoft because you've been hacked, and here's the number to call. And I just it was. I'm not going to say who it happened to, but it happened in my family. Let's put it that way. And I'm on the phone. In fact, I was on an AARP Zoom call, and I'm hearing some noises. And then I kind of peek over, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. So I put myself on mute and go over to the computer, and I said, oh my God, what's happening? Because it's the black screen with the white writing, which means that somebody is in your computer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no. So I'm like, so I said, put it on mute. I said, where are you? What's going on? Who are you talking to? And they were already talking to the supposedly Microsoft person. And I'm just like, no, this isn't real. I just don't believe this is real.
Yeah.
So then I ran back over to my computer. I typed in the chat box to Bruce, and I said, Bruce, tell me this is a scam, and it's not, just tell me this isn't a scam. And he said, it's a scam. So then I went back over and I said, okay, now, and he's called the phone number. And so the guy's on the phone, and I'm like, no, this is not real. This is not real. Well, when I knew it really wasn't real is when he started asking him about his credit cards.
Yeah.
And I said, I heard him say he listed 2 credit cards. I said, stop.
Don't do that. Don't do
that.
It's like watching a car wreck in slow motion, isn't it? It's like, no.
I know.
Yeah.
And then what even made it even worse is that the guy, and this is for everybody to know, this is real. This happens, that they will ask you, what is the phone number on the back of your credit card? And then they'll say that they're going to have they're going to call. Say what, Dave?
They're going to have them call you, right?
Yes. And I said, tell them you don't know. You don't have your cards with you. So then the guy said, okay. He looks up the phone number, and then somebody calls.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't believe this. So then he started asking for personal information, your social security number, your just a whole bunch of stuff. I was just so freaked out. I said, okay, stop, hang up. We're done.
Yeah.
Then I called, I didn't have your number handy, and I got hold of Kathy, and she was in Doug's office, and Doug's saying, oh God, you guys, you got to do something quick. So Kathy takes her phone, runs down to her office, gets on her computer, and she's saying, well, what's the malware?
Malware, yeah.
Is it, so we found where it was, and she walked us through the steps, and we got rid of it. And it appears that nothing has really happened. But in the meantime, he did call his credit card companies and say, put out alert. I think, someone has hacked my computer and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, there's probably a few other things you may want to do too. One of them is take your computer to your local technical store, computer store, somebody that repairs them, and have them do a really thorough search and destroy mission on malware with a bunch of different tools. Because the problem is when you let somebody into your computer, they can take all the information on there and put information or put programs back on there that can do malware, that can for the long haul be
Oh
there.
boy. Okay.
So you need to make sure you do that, and we may want to talk offline because there's some, depending on what was on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
If there was personal information, tax returns, medical information, W-2s, anything like that, you may need to consider yourself a higher risk for identity theft.
Okay, we'll talk offline.
Yeah, because interestingly, I had something like that happen. Not that, I had somebody open an account on my name that was caught early on, and I took some steps, but it happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I have a service that was monitoring my credit and all that, and they caught it and sent me an email and said, "Hey, did you open this account at this credit union?" And I said, "No, not me," And so I called the credit union, and then I've been on the trail of all of that, but I've been doing all the things I tell people to do on the AARP, the call hotline. I've been telling all those people what I do when they have identity theft, because basically somebody got my social security number and name and date of birth and all that stuff and opened an account at this credit union in my name. It was presumably trying to do money laundering, depositing checks and taking them right back out. Kind of thing.
Wow.
So that can happen to anybody. So don't feel bad.
I know, but it was like deja vu, just being in class and hearing all these stories, and then you're in the middle of it. It's like it's a bad movie here.
Yeah.
But at least I remembered some of the things that I had been taught to teach, and I could reach out to my sources.
Yep. That's good.
So I'm grateful for that. So, and for those of you that don't have the same source I do, all you have to do is call the Fraud Watch, and they'll help you too. AARP Fraud Watch. So
yeah, I'm reaching over here to get the number for it.
Oh, good, Dave. Good.
I remember the number, but I want to make sure. It's 877-908-3360. 877.
Repeat that.
877-908-3360. That's the AARP runs a free fraud report hotline where you can call if you think you've been defrauded or know somebody that has. You don't have to be a member of AARP. You don't even have to be a senior. You can call on behalf of your kids, have your grandkids call, whatever. And we help them. We just got a bunch of people that are trained on fraud, steps to avoid fraud, or steps to avoid things like identity theft, or who to report things to. And we'll be glad to, talk to you as much as we have to help you get. We can't manage your case. We can't be a case manager, but we can certainly tell you, you need to make these calls and do these kind of things on your own.
Right. So, and another one that, of course, is a biggie is the email from Microsoft that they've detected a virus on your computer.
Yeah. Let me tell you a couple of things that you can do or check for. First of all, back to your original issue. If you're at your computer and you're just kind of running around, trolling through the internet, doing stuff on a browser, and all of a sudden, the screen turns red, and sometimes it'll make noises, and the numbers stuff start flashing and said, "You've been infected. You got to call Microsoft right away," et cetera, et cetera. Guarantee that's a fraud, no matter what. It could say Microsoft. It could say McAfee, which is an antivirus company. It could say Norton, which is another antivirus company. But any of those, anything like that flashes and says, "Hey, we're monitoring you and you've been infected," that's going to be a scam. So don't call the number for sure. But a lot of times, the first thing you can do is basically power off your computer and power it back on, because studies have shown when you get infected with that little, it's really just a web page browser problem that a hacker has put on a web page, and you managed to pick it up on one of the web pages you went to. When that happens, studies have shown that just powering off your computer and powering it back on will cure it about 70 to 80% of the time. So, even though they tell you don't turn your computer off, it's not going to hurt if your computer's off. And most people don't know that if you press down on the power button, the button you use to power the computer on, for 6 to 10 seconds, it'll force it to reboot no matter what's going on. Okay. There's very few reasons that that will not work. And that's kind of a trick that a lot of folks who've worked with computers for a long time know. So yeah, if anybody ever asks to get in your computer, download this application called AnyDesk or there's other ones, TeamViewer or something like that, and let me in your computer. Don't do it unless you initiated that, unless you called them and you know they're legitimate.
How do you know that they're legitimate?
Well, if you get a message or something, or you want to call your local computer store, say you want to use Geek Squad at Best Buy, for example. I know that they do remote troubleshooting as part of their services, but if I call them, I look up their number on their website. I know it's their website. I look up the number on the website and call that number. I don't respond to anything that comes to me through an email, a text, flashing up on the screen when I'm browsing the internet, anything like that. I'm automatically suspicious of that. And so I will go to the website that I know is theirs and use that number to call, as opposed to any number or any link anybody gives me, because chances are pretty good they're going to be fraud.
So isn't there a way that if you're on a website that you can take your mouse and hover over something and see whether the site's legit?
Well, no, not necessarily. There used to be a thing that would show up in the, it's still there, in the browser bar. And we used to tell people to use that HTTPS for a secure encrypted connection to the website. And that's basically an encryption. And there used to be a little lock that would show up on there. Still is. Like on my browser right now is the little lock.
Right.
And we would tell people that would ensure more or less that it's a secure connection. Unfortunately, that's not true anymore.
Oh.
Because the hackers have started using the HTTPS technology themselves.
Oh,
and so now they've it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
The security guys and the hacker guys are always in kind of a chess match, right? And one makes a move and the other makes a counter move. And it's been going on like that. I've been in cybersecurity for 40 years, and it's been that way for 35 of those years.
Nice.
And so, and that's just the way it is. So you just got to, what I'm telling people now is to be much more focused on developing a mindset of skepticism. The days of believing anything you read on the internet, I think we all consciously say that, but subconsciously we don't realize that, right? And work on that. Work on being very skeptical of anything you see in an email, even if it looks like it's coming from, a family member or a friend. Be very skeptical, because I'll get text messages now, and I will, it'll come from a friend that I'm like, I don't know if this is really them or not, so I'll reach out, call them, or reach out some other way and say, hey, did you really post this? Did you really send me this? Most times it's not true. Yeah. Facebook Messenger is a
big one.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I had a friend that I've known since grammar school, and she sent me, hey, can you do me a favor? I need to get a birthday gift, a gift card for my, niece who's graduating high school, but I can't do it. Can you go someplace and buy me a gift card and read me the numbers on the back thing, right? And it came from somebody that I've known for my entire life, basically, since I was a little kid. And so I was like, well, this doesn't really sound like Joanna. So I texted her through another means, and it was, no, that's not me. And so she and I have been working on trying to fix her, because somebody had done that, had stolen her identity and taken over her Facebook account.
And speaking of Facebook, when I would do presentations, I always tell people, if you're on Facebook, please don't say that you're on vacation and your location. You show your pictures after you come back.
Yeah.
Not while you're there, unless there's somebody at your house, because that's just the best way for folks to just.
Yeah. You got to think of social media as inviting somebody into your living room, right? You're inviting them into your house, and they're sitting in your living room. And what would you say and give them and tell them face to face is no more, no less than what you should put online.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't tell somebody, a stranger who came and sat down in your living room, you wouldn't tell them your deepest, darkest secrets. You wouldn't tell them, the things that your social security number, or how you do your finances, or any other stuff. Don't trust people online, even if you think they're really a friend, because it's way too easy to impersonate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talking about impersonators, what do you do if someone's filed unemployment in your name?
Well, first thing you do is call the unemployment bureau, whatever unemployment agency it is, and tell them that that's a fraud. Some employment, state employment agencies allow you to do that online. In fact, there's one or two I've run into in doing the fraud watch call center thing that's the only way they'll do it is they take an online report. But others, you can call them and say, hey, this is not me. I got this. Thank you for getting unemployment kind of thing. And that's not me that signed up for that. And you can file a fraud report, first of all. Second of all, you need to file a police report or try to. Some police departments won't take a report on something like that because it's too hard for them to catch somebody, but most will.
But you also have to do it online now.
Well, yeah, in some places. and
county.
Yeah. And so Bellingham does that too. And I was doing that yesterday afternoon for my little issue, and had some problems with getting the report file. So we'll see if that works. But the point is, you need to try to do that to prove that you were a victim of fraud, because that could just be the tip of the iceberg, right? In many cases, suddenly you get notification that you file for unemployment when you didn't is just the first notification you have that somebody's doing other things with your identity.
Right.
Because that's identity theft. They have to have your social security number and name and address and all that stuff to file for unemployment. So that indicates that they may be doing other things like getting loans in your name or getting other types of benefits, healthcare benefits or whatever. So you need to consider yourself a potential victim of identity theft. And the federal government has a great website. The Federal Trade Commission has a website called identitytheft.gov. And identitytheft.gov is where you can report where you think you've been a victim of identity theft or you are for sure a victim. And then they will take your report online, and then they will give you a personalized, they call it, recovery plan, steps you need to take to try to mitigate the damages. You're not going to solve it, but you're going to at least mitigate having further damage. And so identitytheft.gov is a great place to go. And the recovery steps on the homepage, there's a button that says get started to file the report. And you click on that and you can, it'll walk you through filing the report. But right underneath that button is a bunch of smaller letters. And it says browse recovery steps. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a checklist of all these different things you can do as a recovery. And the first one or two are the most important, notifying anybody that you've found out that you are a victim, notifying your banks or whatever, the affected businesses or government agencies. And then the second thing is to freeze your credit history.
So that's where the credit bureau comes.
Right.
Credit reporting agency coming. You need to let them know too.
And the numbers or websites or the numbers to call, or all three of the credit bureaus are there. And so you can put a freeze on it. And then the third thing is it says go to annualcreditreport.com for a credit history. And that's the government mandated website that the credit bureaus set up. All three of the credit agencies set up the one-stop shop where you can go online and get a copy annually for free of what information the credit bureaus have on you, each one of them.
Wonderful.
And because of COVID, they, up until the end of this year, until the 31st of December of 2022, they will do it once a week.
Really?
Once a week. Yeah, for free. And so you can basically go on there once a week and check your credit report, because it comes to you online as a PDF. And you can look at it and just basically see if you see anything unusual, or you see anything, an account you didn't do, or a query of something that you didn't, check, a query for a loan or something that you didn't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an indicator you may have a problem,
I guess. So I remember a couple years ago that a relative of mine was at a conference that I was at, and we were talking about fraud, and I found out that, so the fraud was, you mentioned earlier about gift cards.
Yeah.
So she had a phone call supposedly from the county court saying that there was going to be a warrant arrest out for her because she had missed jury duty. And this person was so good, they really intimidated her.
Yeah.
And she ended up paying $700
Oh, yeah.
in gift cards because of this.
Yeah.
And I talked to her afterwards and I said, why didn't you call for help or ask somebody something? She was too embarrassed. And
Yeah.
I know that happens to a lot of people, but can you expound on that a little bit, Dave?
Yeah, well, I'll just say this flat out. If anybody calls you and says you need to pay something using a gift card, that's a fraud. Period. End of discussion. That's a big red flag, because that's not the purpose of gift cards, is to pay your bills. That's not what gift cards are for. And the problem is that if you go buy a gift card at Walmart or Safeway or wherever you buy one and put down $500, all a fraudster need is the number on the front and the numbers on the back, and they can take that money off without ever seeing the plastic card in your hand. So they just go online and empty that card, and they do it just like that.
Oh, I bet.
So the point is that if anybody calls you and says, I mean, I was in law enforcement for 15 years as part of my past life, and I never once called somebody and said, I'm coming to arrest you. You know, I basically would just show up and do it. So if somebody calls you and says, we're the sheriff and you missed jury duty and we're going to come arrest you, be really, really skeptical and call the sheriff's department yourself. You know, look it up online and call that number yourself, because that's probably not true. Same for, we're going to come turn off your lights. That's a big one we hear about now on the call center, is folks getting called and said, hey, you know, this is the power company or the gas company. We're going to turn off your utilities unless you pay your past bill right now. And the point is that these guys are experts at pushing emotional buttons. There's a bunch of different emotions that you know, if they can key on, whether that's fear, whether that's greed, hey, you won Publishers Clearinghouse and you're going to be a billionaire, right? Or it's you know, some sort of fear for your relatives or anger or something. Whenever the emotions kick in, rational thought goes out the window in a lot of ways. And so that's what they're trying to do, is find that emotional button, like your family member's fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she was going to be arrested. And that makes, when the emotions kick in, disbelief is suspended. Basically, it's a lot easier to make you do what they want you to do, manipulate you.
Right.
And so the idea is maintain that skepticism of everything. I mean, it's sad, but everything that comes at you, be skeptical of it and question it. Don't be afraid to question it. You know, and I tell people, you know, our generation was, I mean, back down south where I grew up, you know, the worst thing you could do was be rude to somebody.
Right, right.
And, you know, my mom would have killed me if I'd been rude to somebody. And so now we as a generation are not as willing to be rude to somebody as we should be. You know, so if somebody calls me and they try to, you know, get my social security number or get my personal information, basically I'm going to slam the phone down and everything.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, I want to talk about one of my favorite fraud. It's a fraud. Robocalls.
Yeah. Good old robocalls. You know, robocalls are one of those things that are, in a lot of technology, they're a double-edged sword, right? Because there's really good reasons to have robocalls. I mean, you get calls from your doctor to remind you of appointments. You get calls from this, you know, if you have kids in school or grandkids in school, if it's inclement weather, they'll call you, or something happens at the school, they can use an automated dialer to call you. So there's good reasons to have it. But like a lot of technology, there's also the bad side. And the bad side is the things that everybody complains about, right? And people tell me, why can't we do away with robocalls? Well, you may not want to do that, because there's good things it does too. So what you got to do is try to control it. And so the thing is that most of the calls you get, whether it's you get a call and you pick it up and it's dead silence, or you get a call and you pick it up and it's a phone number that looks like your area code, but it becomes clear it's a fraud. You know, that's the bad stuff that you want to try to get away with. A lot of those can be filtered out. For digital phones, iPhone and Android, the carriers, the providers, T-Mobile, Verizon, Xfinity, those kind of guys, often have packages that can filter your calls and bump the numbers calling against known spam callers and just filter them out if they're known spam callers.
Mm-hmm.
There's also tools you can buy or subscribe to, applications. RoboKiller, Hiya, and NomoRobo are three of the ones that I'm familiar with. One's called RoboKiller. You can download it. There's a free version and a paid version, and it basically filters out. If a phone call comes in, it compares it to millions of known scam numbers that they keep a database of, and if it's one of on that list, it doesn't come through. It just tells you RoboKiller has filtered this out. NomoRobo does a lot the same thing. There's a pay and a free version, I think, of that one, and then there's one called Hiya, Hiya, that also operates in a similar way, and they only work with cell phones. They don't work with landlines. And
okay.
Unfortunately, landline ones, there's physical devices you can get online on Amazon to filter out those, or at least tell you who they are. And
Dave, I got to stop. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and
oh wow, okay,
we're going to have to do this again.
Okay.
So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to Patrice Isley for blessing me with your music. And Dave, it's always great to have you on the show. We will be talking again.
Okay.
Take care. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.